All right, let's go to the next one here. Speaking of rackets, used cars. I can't be the only guy who was in the used car market over the last 2 years, and I was like, what the hell is going on in here? So some of that is coming to an end, and actually, while that is some good news if you are a consumer, it may not be the best of news for the overall car market in the United States. Let's put this up there on the screen. This guy, by the way, his name is Car Dealership Guy on Twitter, is an absolutely fascinating follow with a lot of insight into the industry. So he says, quote, I spoke with the smart CEO of a major dealer group today. He believes that used car prices have bottomed and it's possibly only up from here. He talks about how less used car supply is in the market. Dealers are actually holding leaner inventories due to higher holding costs. Their days supply, the average number of days it takes to sell a used car, has significantly dropped over the last couple of months, and less supply generally does going to equal higher prices. Two is that actually new cars, and this is part of the problem, even if the used car price does drop, it was so high, and new cars being inaccessible are at record highs. So right now, even at the current price levels, used cars are still generally cheaper than a new car. It was a little bit of a flip during the pandemic. However, we're returning somewhat to normal. And then finally, there is possible, and this is one thing I do hope for, some pent-up demand entering the market because used car prices have finished 2022 down about 15% year over year. So overall, as a consumer, it might be a good time to buy a car, although you never really know what's going to go on with that. But on a bigger and a broader level is actually these used car companies, of which I'm going to be honest, I took full advantage of. One of my cars was involved in an accident, and the mechanic was like, hey man, I'm just gonna tell you this as a friend. He's like, you should sell this car right now. He's like, this car is not gonna last for a while after such a catastrophic accident that it was involved in. And he's like, these idiot, Carvana, Vroom companies, he's like, they'll buy anything, and he's like, they'll just write you a check. And he was right. So maybe it turns out that wasn't such a sustainable business model. Let's turn out to put this up there on the screen. The pandemic
car sellers.
The pandemic used car boom is coming to an abrupt end, and they talk about how dealerships seeing sales and prices drop as consumers are tightening their belts, and that especially companies like Carvana, which were printing money to a historic degree over the last 2 years, may be completely screwed. We're talking again about used car prices that are falling 14% on the year, but actually declining even more and more as the months go on. And all of that is significantly hurting their bottom line. Carvana reported a quarterly loss of more than $500 million and had to lay off 4,000 employees. In the last 12 months, they have piled up significant amounts of debt. Its stock price has fallen 95% in the last 12 months. At this point, I'm like, maybe I should buy it. Whenever you look at that. That's not financial advice, by the way.
They may be headed for bankruptcy is what it looks
very
like,
much
to be honest with you.
3 states have actually suspended the Carvana operating license from consumer complaints. And what they're saying is, quote, we think there's a decent chance the company will just end up having to file for straight up bankruptcy. They have too much debt for the level of sales and profitability, can't support that debt load, and will likely need to restructure. Carvana, to be clear, says that they have sufficient funds to turn its business around. I've heard that one before, pretty recently, actually. So who knows? This entire experiment in the used car world, it seemed like everything was changing. You could buy and sell a car online. Yeah, it's just not looking so good right now, Krystal.
This is one of those things that like people get caught up in the hype of the idea. It's got a feel of like a sexy idea that's time has come. And they built these gigantic car vending machines that like, your car would be delivered to, and then you can go and pick up. And I mean, they look super cool. That's what the image, for those of you who could see on the screen, was one of these big car vending machine towers. Unfortunately, it's completely empty, in a sign of the times and the troubles for Carvana. There's kind of a deeper story here, though. Let me read you this piece because I think it reveals, it connects to like the tech recession stuff and some of the other things that we've been covering. They talk about how when the pandemic forced car buyers to shop online, Carvana became a Wall Street darling. Its stock soared, reached a high of about $345 a share back in 2021, but that hoopla obscured some operational troubles. The company has never reported profit for a full year. Never reported profit for a full year in the nearly decade that its shares have traded on the stock market. It has spent a lot of money to add retail locations, build those fancy towers, refine its online platform. In some markets, it has struggled to grow amid stiff competition. And it goes on to talk about some specific problems that they had in the Denver market. But again, when interest rates were basically zero and cash was cheap and easy something like Carvana, which had a good story and seemed sexy and seemed like an idea that's time had come, could continue to float its operations and can continue to move forward and have these insane stock market valuations based on the story. Well, now with the Federal Reserve lifting rates, the music has kind of stopped. And so now if you don't actually have a profitable business model, that is going to be a real problem for you. And adding to their troubles is the fact that they made a gigantic acquisition at sort of like the peak of, you know, the market, and that has added to a massive debt burden that has made it very difficult for them to ultimately overcome. So it's kind of a shame because, you know, the idea of it is really cool. I also hate going to car dealerships. A lot of people do. They find the experience very stressful. The idea of just being able to like pick and choose at home and have the thing delivered to your door or at one of these local car vending machines. Like, it sounds like a cool idea, but the economics of it at this point just haven't worked out. They just don't have the kinks worked out. That's why they got their license pulled in a couple states, because people were having so much trouble just getting the titles to the cars that they supposedly already purchased. So not looking too good for Carvana.
It's tough. I wanted Carvana to work. I wanted Vroom to work. And look, it's because these used car dealers, they're basically legalized mob bosses. I don't know if people know this, but you know, they did an analysis in 2019 of who the richest people in America are. So get this. 20% of people in 2019 who filed an income tax return who made more than $1.58 million, they're used car dealers. These guys are making more money than God. And it's like, if you really want to be a millionaire in this country, you should be a used car dealer or a mechanic and body shop owner, because nobody knows what the hell it should cost. There's all these hidden ass fees that are in there. And if you use just even some basic business sense, it looks like you can extract a hell of a lot of rent. I went deep on this. I was like, how is this possible? Why then are there not used car dealers all over the place? There is an insane licensing regime that goes from the county, state, and business level, where you both have to team up with the so-called dealer itself, right? Like the brand Honda. But you got to get permission from your local county. You got to deal with some real estate guys in terms of zoning laws and all this. It's incredibly corrupt. So a lot of this is actually regulated at the state and the county level. And of course, why would any average citizen ever know about this? They're like, yeah, that's how it works, whatever. But actually, you're really getting hosed. One of the ways I learned about this was from the battles that Tesla has in terms of having to open different shops and all that. But the more research you do, you're like, wow, this entire thing is a racket to a degree where I don't even know what an actual car should cost. Like, if you were able to just buy it straight from the distributor, it might be as much as $10,000 less. It really might.
They also, they have a lot of local political power. I mean, partly because they have to be able to navigate this regime and whatever, but oftentimes, like, your local car dealership owners are very politically connected. They're doing local donation, they're a state rep, they're state senator, et cetera. So anyway, they're a sort of like locally very politically powerful group. But, you know, bigger picture, one of the things we've been focused on, obviously, is the way that the Fed lifting rates has dramatically impacted our economy. We've focused a lot on the housing market and how much just a moderate increase in mortgage interest rates makes housing dramatically unaffordable, buying a home impossible for so many people. That's why the market is kind of like frozen at a standstill right now. And it's a very similar picture for car buying. I mean, the interest rates on auto loans have also gone up significantly. And in fact, there's a piece in this article where one of the owners, I think it was of CarMax, was talking about, you know, they see that people go on the website, they're looking at a car, they pick something out, they go and they calculate what that monthly payment is going to be given where interest rates are today, and they bail out. They say, I can't do it. It's not affordable anymore. So having a huge impact on the auto industry, and in particular in the used car sales, which of course was like red hot during the pandemic.
Red hot also matters in terms of loans and the way that also, you know, cars, a status symbol in the United States. A lot of Americans buy far more cars than they actually need, and they buy new cars all the time. I guess it's one of those things that we just really love to spend a lot of money on, and that's actually a big driver of consumer sales and really of a lot of satisfaction that people find in their lives. So how this impacts all of you is actually pretty significant, especially, you know, used cars is some 70% of the entire market. It really does matter.
People don't realize that. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. So it really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.